Exercise 4, Creo Parametric 4.0. In this exercise, we're going to take a look at some of the functionality inside Creo when it comes to more revolved features, as well as we're going to take a look at the sweep feature. You can see these spokes that are here. We're going to see how to create that using a sweep. So that's a free form type of object, and that's great for using on virtually anything that's very smooth in shape or organic in appearance. So, and then also we'll take a look at the hole tool as well. As you can see here, I have a countersink, actually counter bore, sorry, and we'll see how that's done. And so let's go ahead and begin. Start with a new part file and go ahead and name it E4 for exercise 4. The manual with the instructions can be located online at the vertanu1.com/instructional manuals. And then it's just the Creo Parametric 4.0 basics. And it begins on page 45. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on creating this hub section that you can see here. It's a 3x1 rectangle based off of the origin. And then we're going to draw a circle 1-inch diameter and trim that out, as well as we're going to put a sketch chamfer in. Okay, so go ahead and go to the revolve button and click on the front plane to begin. Find the rectangle tools and make sure you select the corner rectangle. Move your pointer to the origin, click and drag it to the upper left corner. And then click again to drop it and middle click to release the dimensions. The width is going to be 1 inch and the height will be 3 inches. So go ahead and apply those numbers. Double click and change those. We'll go ahead and we'll put the chamfer in. Now you'll see that there's the chamfer trim and chamfer. Just go with chamfer. Click in the vicinity where you'd like to see the chamfer take place, and then click on the opposite perpendicular line between the two. Now these two, we could go ahead and we could just middle click and double click on one of them and go ahead and type in 0.25. And go ahead and change the other one to 0.25 as well, making basically a 45-degree angle. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select the circle tool. Now you could use some of the other arcs and things like that, but I want to go over the trim tool again. And here, just slightly to the right of that line on the left, take careful note where my pointer is, click, and drag out a circle that intersects past the left line. Click again and middle click, and it should bring up the dimensions. You'll see this dimension is no longer, it's a weak dimension, so go ahead and you could actually click on that and lock it if you like. And now over here, let's change this to 1. This dimension right here, actually we're going to tie that to the 0.25, so I'm going to show you a constraint that we could use to replace that dimension. Go to vertical in the constraints area, select this point after the extension line on the right of the 0.25 chamfer, and then the center point of the circle, and it should align it. And you'll see that dimension will disappear then. Now the next thing we want to do is go to the dimension tool and locate this center point of this circle to the bottom edge, and then go over here to the left and middle click to drop the dimension, and that's going to be 1.68. Now we're going to trim that geometry out. So let's go over here to the delete segment tool and scribble through here and here. And you'll see whatever turns green will be removed. Release it and middle click. Now this 1-inch dimension is currently set as it's a diameter. And we might actually want to display that as a radius. So you could click on it, and over here you'll find radius. It'll toggle that to a radius, 0.5. Okay, now we're ready. We could go ahead and hit OK. And here you'll notice that I meant to draw in a center line and my geometry disappeared on me. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's see where we're at here, and go ahead and select the y-axis. So you have to make sure you turn on all of your CSYS display. And then the y-axis, you could just click on that little arrowhead right there, and it will revolve around that. Otherwise, it would have been wise to draw a vertical center line, and then it would have automatically revolved around that. So just be aware, if you have any trouble with that, maybe draw a center line first. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to hit apply, the green check mark. And now I'm going to turn off some of those, oops, wrong button, entities there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the sweep. Now to create the sweep, we're first going to start off with drawing a skeleton of essentially the path that we're going to use. So let's go to the front plane and start a sketch. Zoom out of here, and let's draw a center line. We could get away without it, I suppose, but just go ahead and draw that vertical center line. And now take the line tool, and right somewhere near the middle here, you won't actually snap to the middle, be aware. You're just going to go ahead and click and drag to the left a horizontal line. Click again, and middle click 2 times, and we just want that to be 2 inches. And then over here, just make sure, double click on that, 1.68 again. And that, if you remember, was the dimension and the center point of the circle that we drew to create this hub in the middle. Now let's go over here to the arc tools. Hit the little arrow to the right of them and go with 3-point arc. Now click on this endpoint and you can make it tangent by moving directly to the left and then up. Now if you want, you can snap at a 90-degree angle here. However, just be aware later we'll have to delete that. Otherwise, if you just are less than 90 degrees, you might be a little bit better off. But let's see what happens if we snap at 90 degrees. See, click there. Now click on this and drag this up and to the left, and you will be able to snap again that arc 90 degrees to the center. Click, and now go to the line tool and draw a short little line off of there, and middle click. Okay, now we could actually see what's going to happen with our option there where we went and we added this constraint, which essentially gave us 90 degrees, but it's a horizontal alignment. That's probably going to be some trouble later on if we try and change this, but let's first make this 4 inches wide. Okay, now this one, these should be 1 inch. And you'll notice you can't change it sometimes. If you double click, try and change it to 1, you may not be able to change it unless you made it extremely large to begin with. And this is due to this constraint that we got by accident. So middle click, click on the actual little box there for the constraint. It should turn green like that. And then you could hit delete on your keyboard. And now let's try and change that. Double click, type in 1. And because they were drawn that way, we did achieve an equal relationship when we drew it. That was one of the benefits of drawing it the way we did. But we did have to delete that extra constraint. So just be aware of that. And then this dimension will appear. And let's go ahead, I'm going to drag it out the back to the right here. And that's just going to be 1 inch. So just double click on that, type in 1 inch. And now we're fully constrained and ready to move on to the next step. Hit OK. And now let's go to the sweep tool up here. It should automatically locate your curve and give you an arrow from that point. If not, click on the arrow if it's over here. You see you could actually flip-flop it. But we don't want to start it in the middle, although we could. Let's start it on the outside. It's going to be a little easier to see as we sketch. Okay, with that being said, go to the upper left here and find Create or Edit Sketch. Now it might go to this perspective. Let's go ahead and flip that around, and under Saved Orientations, go to, I think, the right view orientation. It's a little bit better. Okay, and from here, now we could go ahead and we're going to use Center and Ends arc. Now this one's the toughest of all the arc tools, actually probably the toughest of all the tools to master the first time. Once you get a hang of it, it's pretty easy, but I just noticed over the years teaching this that it's a difficult one, so don't get upset if it takes you a couple shots to get it right. Move your pointer to locate the center right here at the crosshairs. Click, drag to the left, just to make it look like, see how the top of the arc kind of doesn't snap to it, but just get it around that height there. And click, drag it up and around. Do not stop at the middle. Continue on to the opposite side when you get the center line. Click, middle click. You'll see the two red squares indicate it's open, so that's good. Let's go to the line tool now and click on one of those vertices, drag it straight down. Notice it's capturing tangencies, that little symbol up there, which is perfect. That's what we want. Click, drag this across, and it should be able to infer to the opposite end. Click and close that by connecting it. Middle click 2 times, and let's change some of the dimensions here. Let's change this to 0.5, and this will be 0.25. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add some fillets in at the bottom edges here. So go to the fillet tool and zoom up here as close as you can get. Use a scroll. Click right here to here, and then from here to here. Middle click 2 times. Let's first of all make those equal. So click on equal and select both of those, and then middle click. And now you could, after you middle click a couple times, you can now double click on that dimension. And let's go ahead and change that to 0.125. And notice it rounds it. If you don't like rounding it, just right click on it and uncheck round display value. Okay, and you'll notice this one turned weak again. Let's just lock that. Middle click. All right, if you rotate, you can now see really from the decent perspective what we're creating here. We're creating the profile that is going to follow this path. Now we just hit OK, and we should see a preview update. If you don't see a preview, you might want to start to sketch over somewhere. Unfortunately, sometimes I'm not there to see what you might have done, but don't give up. It's not too bad. Go ahead and hit the green check mark. And now we're going to pattern this. And we've learned a little bit about patterning with exercise 2. So let's go ahead and pattern this. We want 3 copies. So we're going to go ahead and select the spoke, as I call it. Go to pattern and select axis. Now make sure you turn on your axis display here. And there should be an axis right in the middle there. You can select that. And you'll see it by default gives us 4 at 90 degrees. But let's go ahead and type in up here 3, and then over here where it says 90 degrees, click in there and type over it 360 divided by 3, which many of you can do the math in your head, but just plug in 120 if you like. Otherwise, there you go. Hit the green check mark to apply. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and select the front plane again and go to revolve. And it threw me into a rotation that I didn't really like, so I'm going to go over here under stave orientations and go back to front just so it looks normal. And from here, let's not forget our center line, because with revolve it needs a center line internally to revolve. Otherwise, if you remember, you could select the actual y-axis. Okay, so now let's go to the circle tool and glide up to this edge and find the midpoint on this left edge. When you got it, drag out a circle, middle click, and let's change that to 1 inch. And now we could hit OK, and there it is. Hit the green check. Okay, let's put some blends in here. So go to the round tool, set the round to 0.25, and let's blend these edges in here between the spokes and the hand wheel. Middle click and rotate it around to the bottom side. And now let's go ahead and we're going to put in a hole. So using the hole tool versus before we've always learned how to draw a hole in with the sketch. But if you go to hole here, you could go and select, use standard hole profile, and let's go with a counter bore. And from here, let's go to placement and select this face. You can see we have a very large hole appearing there, which you do have libraries of different holes to work from in here. Let's go to shape, and there you can see the actual shape we could set. And I want to go ahead and bring up, oh here, make sure you select this one, the create standard hole. And now it gives us like our UNC or ISO, and then we could go with a variant. Let's go with 1024. Oh, that's kind of small. How about 1/2 13? Okay, and from here you could put in additional variables if you like. I think it turned out okay from what I'm seeing here. And now we have to position it. So instead of linear, go with coaxial and select the center. Unfortunately, it didn't go the depth I was anticipating here. Maybe not coaxial. Let me remove that. Okay, and let's get that in position, or flip it. There we go. Okay. And get that to the surface there. That's not usually what I do, but unfortunately it's not giving me the option to go back. Let's see here. Maybe we could flip-flop that again. Okay, so let's go ahead and right click in here, make sure you select clear or clear all. Then go ahead and select this face again. Now you do have the ability to go between linear, radial, diameter, and you can see here place hole by using a linear dimension or an angular dimension. There's diameter place hole using whatever, and you could essentially snap this to different parameters as you see, or you could just go with coaxial and get it centered. Go ahead and hit the green check mark and apply, and you'll see that it actually does put in the note, which is really nice. And there we could see our counter bore. Okay, and that concludes exercise 4. And the next thing, again, we're going to do lab 4 in the manual. And so let's take a look at that. Lab 4, there's lab 3C and then lab 4. So lab 3C, as you can see here, is an electrical receptacle cover. So for that, essentially, notice it's symmetric. I'll go ahead and I'll go through this. So it's 2.75 by 4.5, and let's go ahead and get started on that. So start a new part file, L3C, and go to extrude, select the front plane, and for this one, find the center rectangle tool, and right at the middle, click and drag that out. Now again, it's very large, so let's take a look at our drawing, 4.5 by 2.75. So double click on this, 4.5, and then this, 2.75. Okay, let's put in our center line, vertical and horizontal. And we'll go ahead and we'll make another rectangle. Go with center rectangle, right over here somewhere. Make sure you don't snap it to the other center line there, make it a little bit different, and don't make them equal. And now with this, if we look back at our drawing, we need to make that 0.85 by 1.125. 0.85, 1.125. Did I get that right? Okay, I think I got them in reverse here. Let's see, the width is 1.125, and then here is 0.85. Oops, wrong one. And that location, actually, I got that wrong, so that needs to be 0.3. Let me just verify this one. Let's see here. Turn off round. 1.125, okay, 0.85. Now there's a radius that goes over the top of 0.75, so we could go ahead and put that in. So here's a little trick. Go ahead and go to the arc tools, go with 3-point, click on this point, and oops, wrong arc. No, that is correct. Okay. Click on this, and then create this little arc that you see there. And go ahead and change it to 0.75. And we're going to go ahead and mirror that over. So middle click and then select that arc, go to mirror, and select the horizontal center line. Now go ahead and click on this, and let's change it to construction. Click on this, toggle construction. Now we have our opening. Also, we could put the through hole in, and according to the print, that needs to be 0.125 through. Later it gets a chamfer. Beware the mating piece to this, actually, that 0.125 I left off the drawing, so I got to correct that. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and select the geometry we want to mirror. Select mirror and select the vertical center line now. And there we have it. We could go ahead and extrude it, and the overall thickness of this will need to be 0.125, as you can see right there. Hit apply. Now we need to fillet this, so there's a radius that goes all the way around here of 0.1. And then also, let's see, is it used anywhere else? No, that's a chamfer. Okay. So go to the round, 0.125, select the 4 edges, hit apply. Now the chamfer, select chamfer, and it is set to 0.125, make sure it's 0.125, and this edge gets it. Oh, that looks very large. I think that might be incorrect. Oh, 0.05 by 45. Okay, so my mistake. Okay, and then this edge here. Oh, they are 0.0. Okay, so my mistake there. Here, here, and there. And, oh, I guess all the way around. Okay, so this edge, that one, and here. Hit apply. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and shell this, and it says shell backside at 60 thousandths. So rotate this around, go to shell, 0.06, and select the backside face, and you are done. Make sure you do a file, save as backup, and place that someplace safe, as you will be great on it. Okay, now the next lab here, L4, you can see this is a bit more complex. This incorporates almost everything you've learned, with the exception of the sweep, into this one part. And it's a very good part to work on. This is more like what you would really see, some of the complexities. And unfortunately, the drawing is so small, it's hard to ascertain some of the parameters. But let's go through this. So we have a 0.75 at the bottom, a 1.5 at the top, 1-inch angle at 23 degrees, and another one at 115, 1.25. So let's go ahead and build that. Start a new part, and this will be L4. Okay, let's go ahead and go right to extrude on the front plane. Draw a vertical center line and middle click. I would recommend drawing a line, but in construction mode, to give you some bearing. So it's a vertical line, middle click, and just make that about 2 inches. Again, that's just to scale it to size, or so it comes together easier. Make sure you turn off construction mode when you're done. Now go to the line tool. Get to that bottom line there, or where you see the this little area. Click and drag out an angled line and another angled line that flares out even farther. Middle click. Okay, let's go ahead and mirror that across. So click on mirror and select the vertical center line, and should mirror across. If it didn't, try it again. Select those 2 lines, go to mirror, and then select the vertical center line. Now let's go to the bottom arc. It needs to be a tangent arc. So from here, draw to there. The top arc is not tangent, so go across. It's not doing it for me here. Let me try it again. I'm going to middle click. You just got to click and release and move across very quickly. There you go. There's a couple other tricks in there. If someone knows all those tricks, post them, please. Okay, go ahead and have this bow out like that. Middle click. And let's change these. This is going to be 0.75. And you notice it didn't update. If that occurs, remember that is just because mathematically behind the scenes it's unable to either inflate or deflate the geometry with the tangencies and things that are on there. So try with the bigger one, 1.5. And then this is going to be 1.25. Again, we're having some issues with that one. If you can't get these to work, go ahead and go to dimension. Let's try putting the angles in. And I believe that one is going to be, oops. Let's see, 23 and 115. Okay, and then this one from here to here, middle click. Okay, now I think we might be able to add some of these dimensions in. So go this center point here to this corner, middle click. That's going to be 1 inch. And then that center point again to this corner, middle click, and that's going to be 1.25. Now you might start getting some really strange phenomena occurring here, but once we get it straightened out, let's verify that drawing there. We got 1.25. Okay, so let's change this. 0.75. There you go. Make sure you change them all. There we go, 0.75. And now we're starting to look more like what it should look like. So middle click a couple times and then bring some of these dimensions out so that you can see them a little bit better. Now this one right here, that is our center line that we drew, or I should say the construction line. So that one doesn't really matter. But this one here needs to be locked in to the origin. So we could actually use a coincident between that point and the origin. This should snap right in. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's see here. Actually, it doesn't look like it's correct here. Let me see what I might have done. Okay, it looks like this dimension I was not thinking when I looked at the print. Click on this one and go ahead and delete that. It actually does need to be this dimension instead, which is from the center point of that arc to the center point of the bottom arc. And then that would be 1.25. And now it looks correct. So just be aware that could happen from time to time. Remember, this one isn't necessary. That was just to get us into scale. We can now go ahead and hit OK. We need to extrude this, and this needs to be a wall thickness of, or a thickness of 1/2 inch. And then there's a significant amount of draft assigned to this, so 25 degrees. So let's go ahead, and that's a 1/2 inch. And then up here we have to go to options and taper, or what I call draft. and that was 20, and actually I'll put a negative in front of it, negative 25, and hit apply. All right, now we can put the fillets or the round on, and the round is going to go right on this edge, and that has an assignment of a 1/2 inch. So 0.5. Okay, we'll apply that. And now there's a chamfer that goes along this edge. So let's go to chamfer. And this one is going to be an unusual one. It actually, zoom up a little here. Okay, we're at 30 degrees and at 181.181. So here we could go to angle the distance, 30 degrees, and 0.181. And we should just select the top face and then the edge. And there we go. Hit the green check mark to apply. Okay, at this point I would recommend shelling the object. And the wall thickness is set to 60 thousandths. So set your shell. Make sure it's 0.06, which mine was preset for that. Click on the back face, and you have it. Now let's put in those little cutouts. They look like flower petals. Let's select this face and go to extrude, and draw yourself a vertical center line right at the origin. And take the line tool, and right up here, don't touch any edges, just draw a little angled line like so. Make sure it's still selected, and you could go to mirror and then select the vertical center line. Now go back to your arc tools and 2 tangent arcs, one on the top and one on the bottom. And it's going to be 0.2 at the top, 0.1 at the bottom, and then the distance between the two centers, we'll go ahead and go to dimension, and I believe it's 0.2, maybe not. Let's take a look. 0.5. Okay, and then the distance to the center of this arc is what we're looking to put in. So with that, you could go to select this point here, and I think we might be able to get away with selecting this edge. Let's see. And there we go. Okay, and that is going to be, I think, 0.75, but we'll go back in here and verify that. Let's see, it's actually on a bolt circle that you see here, so it's 0.7, so I was off a little bit. Okay, and that locates it, and it should look like it's tangent on that edge, though it's not. Although, yeah, we could have assigned a tangency relation, I suppose, if that's right on there. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, flip the direction, and make sure you select Remove Material and hit Apply. Now just go ahead and click on that side face, and we should go to Pattern. And we want to go ahead and set this, it's 24 degrees they're split up by. So we could go over here to Axis and turn on our axis display, and we should be able to see a small one in there. Let's see. Okay, and unfortunately I'm not getting one. I thought I might get one, but because of the fillets and this edge, unfortunately that's not there. So cancel. Okay, we'll just leave that there for right now. What we can do though at this point is put in a boss, and in fact, just so it ensure that it's going to be there before on this history tree over here, the extrude, let's drag this insert here up right below the shell, and that little cutout disappears, but that's good. We want to go ahead and select this face, and we go to extrude, and now we could go to circle and wake up that center point by moving the pointer to this edge. Now there's our center point. Click and drag out a circle, And let's verify the parameters for that are 0.835. And from there, the height of the extrusion is set to 30 thousandths. So hit OK, and 0.03, hit apply. Okay, now we could go back down here, take your insert here and drag it below extrude 2, and now we do have an axis. So otherwise we could have drawn one in and created one. This actually part needed to be in there to begin with, so I just used that instead. Okay, now just if you're out of curiosity, if you want to create one without drawing a boss like that, you could select like the right datum plane. You would start a sketch, and then, oops, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but basically you start a sketch, you could draw a center line there, or a line, and then rebuild, and then use your axis and select that as the axis. Okay, now here we want to pattern this, so let's select that extrude, go to pattern, axis, select the little axis that's available, and this is going to be 24 degrees, and we just want 3 total. Okay, and I think we could, let's see, can we add an additional one to the other side? We might have to mirror this. Let's try this. No, that's not what I wanted. Never mind. Okay, there are ways to do it. Feel free to post it. Okay, anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And now I'm going to mirror that across. I'm going to go to the mirror tool and select this right datum plane and hit apply. And there it is. You can turn off your planes now. Okay, let's go ahead and add that 30 thousandths round. Let's see, do I have one in there? Nope. 0.03. Select this edge, hit apply. Oh, you know what? We probably don't want that just yet. Let's bring that back up there. Turn on the axis display. We still have to put another pattern in here. So select this face and go to extrude. Again, if it bothers you to see it rotated, you can feel free to go here to the front, and then it will bring it upright again. Now go to center rectangle, and right on this edge here, wake it up. You could snap and drag out a little rectangle. And the parameters for this are 0.05 by 0.1. Oops. There we go. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Flip the direction, remove material, and just to ensure it goes through, you can select the through all option. Hit apply. Okay, there is a fillet that goes on this edge. We could go ahead and put that in there or put it in later. Sometimes with the patterns it seems to slow it down a little bit, but let's go ahead and put the round in. And the round needs to be 0.1. And we just select that edge there. It gives it kind of a little bit of character here. And before we pattern that, let's put one more round in here of 0.03. Oh, you know, I had that one in there already, so I could cancel that. And I could just drag this back down here, and the round is in position. And we still have a little axis we could use there. Okay, now we want to pattern this. So let's select the cut, the extrude, as well as just round, let's see, round 3. Don't select this one. We don't want that one. Now we could go to geometry pattern, axis, select this, and I believe it's 18, so 360 degrees divided by 18, and brings up 20 degrees. Looks good. Okay. Now there's a little geometry in here. I didn't put any dimensions down. The print's just too small for it. But if you wanted to put that little logo in here, you could select that face. It's nothing more than a little extrusion, and it's not meant to be really anything. You just snap that in there. And then I think I have like little offsets, kind of like a moon in front of a planet. Okay, hit OK, flip the direction, and just set it to 0.01 for the depth. You do not have to do that if you don't want to. Okay, so from here now we are done on the outside. Let's go ahead and flip it to the inside. For this next one, select this face and go to extrude, and there's going to be a boss in here. So use the circle tool, and let's wake up that center there and drag that out, as well as a second one on the inside. And one of them I must have snapped to, there it is, yeah. If this happens to you where you don't get a dimension, click on this little guy here and delete that. Now we should have 2 dimensions, and let's look those up on the print. 0.5 and 0.6. So the larger one 0.6, smaller one's 0.5, so it's just an offset. Hit OK, and let's verify that. I don't think it's 0.06, but the height of that is 130 thousandths. 0.13. Hit apply. Okay, select this face and go to extrude again, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate this. Let's see here. We'll leave it. Okay, so for this one we want to draw a circle right in here, so wake that up. And there's one that goes right about here. We'll make it the equal size to that, and then we'll draw a center line that's across here. Let's lock in there. Select this, go to mirror, mirror across there, and let's put the dimensions in. Okay, these are positioned, let's see here, 0.125 from center, and then 0.75 across. So 0.75 across, and then this is not what we want, so we'll go to dimension from center point here to this point, and between the two. Oh, drat, it didn't take. Let me hit delete that. Let's try that again. So dimension, unfortunately it locked in. Let's move that over here. Okay. So from here to here, there we go, 0.125. All right, and finally the diameter is called out on the print. That's careful, there's a couple internal diameters. This is going to be 0.175. So this one, since they're all equal, 0.175. And now we could extrude those. And the height of those is called out here. We could see one, a cross section right there, is 0.375. There is a little bit of draft I put on those, but I didn't put it on the drawing, so it's up to you if you want to put that in. So 0.375 to make it look more realistic. I would put the draft, or what they call taper, and put a negative. Oh, it was already in there. Okay, I'm just going to put 1 degree. Hit apply. And now on these surfaces, we can select that face, go to extrude, and we draw a couple little circles in here. We'll make them all equal. Could we mirror them? Absolutely. This is just doesn't take but a minute. 0.1, and then those get cut 0.1 deep. So select flip and 0.1 and apply. Okay, that pretty much completes this exercise. If you wanted to put some ribs in here, you could do that as well. What I would recommend here is actually use the floor of this pocket, and we'll go ahead and create. Okay, and so from here, you could select this face, and don't go to extrude. You could actually just go right to sketch, and you could sketch the ribs in and however you would prefer. We could go in here, like for example, I could draw this out, and maybe we might want to make a parallel to that. See, I could wake up that edge. Now I got parallelism. Could do the same over here. I could mirror too, but this is just good practice. And then here, vertical and horizontal. Now, since you have those, it's easy to just put in these little line segments. Don't have them touch, though. They should not touch the edges or anything like that. Have them a good distance away. I'm just middle clicking to end the chain. And there you can see the line segments now. You know what? I think I'll put one more here. Let's go back to... that's good enough. Let's go now to the OK. And you should be able to just select the rib button. And you'll see the ribs form. They're a little bit on the thick side. Remember, there's the 60% rule, so if it's 100 thousandths wall thickness, it should be 60 thousandths for the rib. So in this case, we'll make it like 0.04. And you could add draft. Okay, and if you want, you could even add the rounds on the inside. You could even add a full round over the top, which is really a pretty neat feature. Hit the green check mark. And there you have it. That concludes all of exercise 4 material.